If you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably heard of Lunchly recently. It's a product that is created by KSI, Logan Paul, and Mr. Beast, and it's getting a lot of flack. I just want to talk about KSI's video on it, because ultimately, I think that he makes some good points in this video, and it's being drowned out by a lot of just hate headed his way. I'm playing devil's advocate. This is not my personal opinion. If you want to see more of my personal opinion, there is a video right here that you can watch where I detail the entire opinion on everything, as well as what's going on fully. KSI starts out this video that he made called Everybody Hates Us Right Now, talking about Lunchly, Mr. Beast, and himself. So, if you don't know, Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, and himself started Lunchly. Those are three massive YouTubers with a combined following of something like 300, 400 million subscribers across YouTube. That is an insane amount of people. Now, we'd be ignorant to say that their fans were not mostly children. That is just an honest fact about YouTube. If you have a fan base on YouTube, you are probably talking to mostly children. That's just how it works. It doesn't matter how controversial your stuff is. It doesn't matter how offensive your stuff is. You are probably talking to children. And they know this. That's why they made a Lunchly thing, which is a counterpart to Lunchables. It is basically Lunchables, except instead of the candy, it has Feastables, which is Mr. Beast's personal candy brand. Instead of a juice pack, it has Prime, which is Logan Paul and KSI's candy or drink brand. And instead of the food that it normally has, they have made marginal improvements to the food, and now they are selling it for a more expensive, more healthy price, which is totally fair. It's an admirable goal to make a healthier alternative to something that kids are eating. That is a very admirable pull. But the issue is that all of these three people have extreme allegations against them in the past. But I think I can really sum these up as failed business ventures. Not things that they did that was terrible, but failed business adventures. So we have Logan Paul, who is known for multiple crypto scams. Now, he himself says that in all of these crypto scams, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what he was fully doing. So there was a coin on crypto that is called Dink Doink, where he promoted it and then sold his shares. He just wanted to get out of that project. He didn't mean to leave his fans in the dust. He just wanted to get out of the project. Is that something that's okay to do? That's for you to decide. But ultimately, he tries to pay his fans back when he does cause things that he does believe was his fault. In the case of Crypto Zoo, something that Logan Paul created. It was a crypto game where you could make money. It is a great idea. It makes sense. You could play a game and get money. That's an awesome thing. That's a dream to anyone. That's literally why people stream daily. That's a big thing that a lot of people like to do. So he starts getting this, and he gets involved with some bad characters. After those bad characters leave him high and dry, he is left with a bill at his feet. He hadn't sold any of his coins, and so he then gets called out by someone named CoffeeZilla. And he makes an apology video after CoffeeZilla. The only issue comes when CoffeeZilla continues to push for him, so he decides to sue CoffeeZilla. That's where I think a lot of people don't like Logan Paul, is because he's trying to sue CoffeeZilla actively right now, instead of paying back fans, where he really realistically could be paying back fans. But ultimately, he is making an attempt. Maybe it's a half-assed attempt, but he is making an attempt to pay back the fans. So ultimately, can you blame him? KSI was recently also outed by a crypto scam, which technically didn't happen, and we're going to get into that a little bit later because KSI himself does address this. And then finally, Mr. Beast was outed by an ex-employee that goes by the name Dogpack404 on YouTube for knowingly hiring people that are involved in SA and SH. Don't know what that means? Look it up, Urban Dictionary. And he also had faked a couple videos. Now, ultimately, in the form of making good content, it's okay to fake a couple videos. Realistically, if you're making content towards kids, they're not even going to know. So is it a bad thing to do? That's for you to decide as well. Ultimately, these three people are somebody who are very experienced in business, or actually not very experienced in business, but trying to get to that point. So through their business ventures, they eventually are failing. They are going to fail, and some people are going to get the butt end of that. So the next thing that KSI talks about is Dan TDM. So Dan TDM makes a tweet that is like this. What happened to YouTubers, man? I can't say anything anymore. This is selling stuff for the sake of making money. Simple. How does it benefit their fans? This is selling crap to kids that don't know better than to trust the people who are selling it to them. Do better. Jacksepticeye also hops on the bandwagon and says, if you mess with Dan TDM, you mess with all of YouTube. Now, I feel personally, or I don't feel, KSI feels that people were too harsh on him. They were too harsh on him because it's KSI and Logan Paul, and they have some failed business ventures in the past. So they immediately come down on them hard. They come down on them for trying to scam kids. They come down on them for trying to do bad things. They come down on them in a lot of different ways. And ultimately, it's not fair when we do look at other YouTubers that have tried stuff like this. You know, we have people that have products out right now as kid YouTubers that are not necessarily helpful. Dan TDM himself made a toy brand that was not necessarily constructive to children. It's a toy, so it is a one-time purchase, so it's a little bit different. But a diamond minecart little action figure is not necessarily the greatest thing you can do with your money, personally. And also, Dan TDM himself has actively marketed multiple candy companies in his videos, and he does multiple videos where he does mukbang style videos with candy. Now, these were a long time ago, roughly 9 years ago. So ultimately, we could say that Dan TDM has evolved and changed. It was a different YouTube landscape. This wasn't his company. But ultimately, it is a little bit unfair of you when you have that in your closet to criticize somebody else for doing something that is also for money. You were doing it for money. He is doing it for money. And right now, to this day, we have Marques Brownlee, who is someone who is a tech YouTuber who created a wallpaper app that was $50 a year. Now, $50 for a year to have a wallpaper. I'd rather have a wallpaper of, you know, my wife or my child, ultimately. And that's free. That's something that's entirely free. So why are you charging $50 for that and not getting hate when KSI and Logan Paul are charging $4 for something and they're getting hate? Not super fair. And I understand KSI's point here. Now, there were also a lot of people around that were just being plain racist to KSI as well, and he outlines it. They basically just say the hard R, talking about welfare checks, talking about just a bunch of garbage, ultimately. I mean, it's just plain out racist, and it's not something you're supposed to do. You shouldn't be doing this. This is what's called an ad hominem attack on KSI. They're using something like his race or his background against him, when in reality, you can't use that against his product. This product is now not his background. And ultimately, there's other YouTubers that have also released candy on top of Marques Brownlee that candies are just plain old bad. They're bad for you. Everybody knows candies are just bad for you. I'd imagine that even these YouTubers that are marketing candies would say always eat it in moderation because candy is always going to be bad for you. FaZe Rug and Ryan Trahan are two people that he talks about. He says he loves their candy and they never got hate from it. Ultimately, I do agree with his point that he makes next, which is that Twitter, aka X, is overall just a cesspool of trash that needs to be addressed immediately. But ultimately, it is just common opinion. People are allowed to post on this without any type of background checks, any type of fact checking, any type of anything. And I understand why he hates Twitter. I don't like Twitter either. I can't scroll through Twitter in public anymore without seeing something absolutely disgusting on my homepage. It's not because I liked anything wrong. I really don't even interact with tweets on Twitter. I literally look and watch. I don't touch anything. So, continuing, he then looks at his Reddit. Now, he looks at his Reddit for a decent chunk of time here, from about 5 minutes all the way to the rest of his video. So the first 5 minutes was just him addressing, and the rest is him looking at it. And there's a lot of people that are just blatantly against what he says. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. 5% of r/KSI glazing him. 95% of r/KSI. JJ is a corporate sellout. Now, with that being said, is it a corporate sellout move to make a lunch product that is better than the alternative? Not in some terms. So ultimately, KSI's intention, and that definitely needs to be questioned in going into this. And he says his intention was just to make a better product. He said Lunchables make $1.8 billion a year. And that's not just raw profit. That is in sales total. And if he wanted to make a better product, then he can help make a better product. And markets of scale or economies of scale are always going to make it cheaper and healthier as they extend. With this Reddit, I mean, we are probably seeing a giant influx of Dan TDM fans. Now, that's what KSI's defense is personally. Even when playing devil's advocate in this situation, I will say I think a lot of them are also just Dan TDM and KSI fans. I don't think the fans absolutely rushed to hate him in his Reddit. I think ultimately it's just that they were Dan TDM fans before they were KSI fans, because you watch Dan TDM when you are a small child and you watch KSI when you are a little bit of a larger child. So ultimately, I think that his take there was a little bit wrong, and he could have enunciated that a little bit better. I think Dan TDM nostalgia is getting in front of people's actual brains, thinking about how this product is without judging it based off of a KSI Logan Paul product. Another thing is that basically KSI has so many different businesses on the internet that people do not hate. Now, KSI makes music. KSI makes does boxing. He has a boxing company. He does a lot of different things. He has a sidemen company even, which is his YouTube group. He has a bunch of stuff going on with them that he really hasn't gotten hate for. But when he does pair up with Logan Paul and Logan Paul and Mr. Beast, he gets a ton of hate. It's not necessarily fair, because ultimately KSI is the good person in this situation. Out of the three people, I would much rather KSI hold my glass than Logan Paul or Mr. Beast. That's just the honest truth. With that being said, he also feels like he is being personally attacked in this situation, which is why he's having such a big outcome back. So when he is talked to in a way that he doesn't feel is respectful, he's going to have an honest, refute to that way that he's being talked to. And it's not because he's trying to defend Logan Paul. It's not because he's trying to defend Mr. Beast and their allegations. That's for them to defend. Ultimately, he's just trying to defend himself. He wants to defend a product that he cares about, and ultimately, he can take a joke. Now, if you've never watched a Mr. Beast video or a KSI video, you'll see that a lot of them are exactly like this. Basically, him getting made fun of for his forehead. Now, it's just a whole minute of him just looking at a screen and doing this. But he can take a joke. That just proves that he can take a joke. Maybe he can smile through a joke, if nothing else. Maybe it does hurt him deep down, but he can smile through a joke. So if this was just all jokes and fun and games, that would be different. But he's getting personally attacked. Now we're going to talk about the Mr. Beast respawn that he addresses in this video as well. So he talks about how Lunchables sells tons and tons of Lunchables daily, and nobody really cares about it until it's Lunchly. Ultimately, Lunchly is a better product. Whether you want to say it's marginally better or it's way better, it is a better product, ultimately. Maybe it tastes the same, maybe it looks the same, but it is a better product for you. Ultimately, in the end, it is a better product. And with economies of scale, as Mr. Beast emphasizes in this tweet, again, the product will get cheaper and healthier. So hopefully the savings can reflect on that. Hopefully it'll be not that much more expensive than Lunchables, which is currently about $2, and Lunchly is about $4. Hopefully it can be better off for everyone. And ultimately, when you're making prepackaged meat, cheese, and turkey, it is hard to make something that is just as good as a cabbage, chicken, broccoli, your actual fruits, you get from the farmer's market. It's almost impossible to make it as good as that. And so ultimately, I understand that Mr. Beast is ultimately saying our product's better. No matter what you want to say about our product, maybe it is bad, but it is better. Making a product that is better than a very ground level product is very easy for them. So ultimately, they are making just a barely better situation. But it is very hard to make prepackaged meats. And then finally, the last thing that he talks about is an NFT project that is just another controversy that's going on right now, kind of unrelated to Lunchly, but may actually contribute to the idea that Lunchly is a bad product and KSI has been a corporate sellout before. Vicstar talks about how the Sidemen, a group that KSI is involved in, wants to create an NFT project back in 2020, 2021 range. KSI was big on NFTs. He's always been big on NFTs. So he pushes for this project. And Vicstar explains that this is a project that would get him $20 million up front, no work, no nothing, and then they would pull out and they would make all the money and their fans would be left holding the bag. That sucks. That sucks. And Vicstar explains that to KSI, says it was in the very early stages. Vicstar himself says it was in the very early stages. So with that, we can kind of conclude that KSI, though he was bullish on this NFT product, it actually didn't end up going through. And ultimately, even though he may even have had intention to scam his audience, but ultimately it didn't go through because of the goodwill of Vicstar, and Vicstar didn't seem like it would have gone through either way, because it was such in the early stages that they would have realized that it was a scam during the end time. And we can actually see this before, because when KSI was actually approached by Prime and Logan Paul in the very first months, he actually pulled out of the deal before eventually actually agreeing, which is insane. I mean, I think KSI is somebody who does actually care about his audience. He does seem like somebody who actually cares about his audience and does care about doing things. And he does repeat this common goal of having a legacy that carries on after him. The only way you can do that is if you have fans. The only way you can do that is if you have people to remember you. KSI has been getting a lot of ad hominem attacks in this situation, and I feel like he's catching strays from Logan Paul and Mr. Beast allegations right now. And ultimately, I think if KSI released this product with the Sidemen in the UK rather than with Logan Paul and Mr. Beast in the US, I think ultimately he would have had a lot different reaction to this. And he would have not gotten nearly as much hate. With that being said, I'm done playing devil's advocate. I think this is a bad product. Ultimately, I think it's just not a great product. I don't think that you should be giving it to your kids. I say ultimately, buy some prepackaged turkey, buy some prepackaged cheese for $10, if that. Buy a loaf of bread and slap those three together, and give your kid that for a day. And it's going to be about the same amount of calories, except better for the kid. Even give them 2 if they want extra food, because ultimately 200 calories is not good enough for a whole day. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you liked this new take on things. I think that there was just a ton of hate, and I wanted to try to be a part of the love and try to give you guys a new look on this situation. If this made you hate the product even more, hey, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't like the product either. But if this made you maybe see it in a little bit of a different, more empathetic way, then I'm glad that I can do that. Hey, everybody love each other, and praise God.